Hello, viewers, and welcome to the latest episode of the GI Huddle. I'm with Darren Small, SVP Managed Trading Services at Sportradar. Darren, thanks very much for joining me.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to a good session talking about our managed trading service and giving a bit of an understanding of where we are and where we want to get to as well. So,
absolutely interesting topic. We're going to cover things like AI, trading as a whole. But to start off with, a good intro point is, can you walk us through your role as now as SVP of Managed Trading Services, and what does kind of the department encompass as a whole?
yeah, it's a good starting point. I think what we need to probably try to align at the beginning is really what the MTS or the managed trading service is, and there's a perception of it being a core trading product, and actually what we really should see ourselves is more of a sophisticated risk management service, which looks at everything from the regular limits and liabilities of a sports book through to how we manage individual accounts, be it end users, and the events themselves and markets around that. So, to give you an understanding of what we do is we take the ticket from the customer, the sports book, in real time as it's being placed, and it comes into our engine. Our engine runs it through a number of different algorithms looking at the liability of the event, the liability of the market, liability of the individual account, latency around the particular bets, and then it runs all these different checks around that, which are often underpinned with AI models to make sure that we're calculating in real time and we're looking at it from a different perspective, and then it runs that back within 20 milliseconds of the ticket hitting us and tells the customer. Gives the customer advice as to whether they should accept that or not accept that based on the pre-configured limits and the risk that it potentially poses to them as a business, and that includes integrity risks as well, where we're working alongside our integrity teams. So yeah, that's the crux of what we do. The other sides of it are around the analytical stuff and how we are then influencing and informing our quantitative analysts around like the performance of sports, the performance of particular markets. Are they underperforming for where we'd like them to be? We have a big part of what we do is identifying the efficiency of a trade. So what we expect a single trade to return against what it does return, and when we accumulate that across the billions of euros that we're managing as an organization, we then get to a point where we get a really good understanding as to whether the mathematical models or the manual trading or the automated trading that we have in place is actually doing the job it should do. So my role there is to sit on top and just to make sure that we're adhering to those KPIs that we need to deliver, not just the business financial KPIs, but also are we responding quick enough? Is our technology stack where it needs to be? Are we in a situation from a redundancy perspective to be able to manage multiple locations around the world? So that's really what my role is as the SVP for Managed Trading Service.
Cool. A lot of processes there, a lot for you to watch over, and you mentioned the real time. So there's going to be time pressure on these things. As an area, as a whole, the sort of the managing trading services department at Sportradar, but trading as a whole, how has it evolved over the years? Because to quantify, let's say 10, 15 years ago, I think we're looking at a very different overall landscape of this kind of thing than we are today.
Yeah, it's interesting you choose that length of time. It's about as long as I've been with Sportradar. I've been coming up to 15 years now here. So I've seen a lot of change in the organization, but a lot of change in the industry. Before joining Sportradar, I was involved in a number of different parts of the industry. And so I've been in the betting industry for about 25 plus years, all in. So trading as a whole, and particularly what we do here now, has changed significantly. When we started this project as MTS, we had a very keen eye on how do we attack this project? Do we go out and rebuild a risk management system, which we've seen in the past in other systems, in different platforms, etc.? Or do we take a different perspective at it and try to look at it how we can scale? Because Sportradar at its core has always been about how we can scale and how we can really touch as many different customers as we possibly can. So we put that hat on clearly, and we decided we need to build this with a team of good, strong trading analysts, which we have, and we built upon over that time. But we don't want that team to get to balloon. We don't want it to become an operationally heavy organization. So we looked at how do we blend that with good automation. And the automation led us into AI work and the stuff that we're doing now. So it was very clear from us from the beginning that we needed to bring those parts of the system in as early as we can, and educate our teams to adopt those as well, because the industry itself has always had a concern around some automation, and to a point, rightly so. But what we've got now are traders and trading analysts who truly understand the value of the AI and the scale, and adopt it and support it and use it to our benefit to hopefully build us out. And where we've seen our systems grow 10% month on month for the last 5 years, the teams can't grow that quickly. So we have to have technology to support that level of growth.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of follow-up questions, which I think you already sort of touched on. I was going to ask, how much of a role has AI played in this evolution? And you've already started to say that, quite a significant one. But then, a question that you also, I guess, touched on, does this mean less of an emphasis on human traders? So a key point you made was you don't want the trading team to be, too large, too stacked with people, I guess. But are you at a point where you actually need less traders because of more automation?
No, so let me address those in the order that you
Sure.
So how much of an important part is AI to our system? It is a very important part. What we've done is we've looked at parts of the business where we know there's going to be growth and there's going to be huge numbers, and there's a whole lot of heavy lifting that has to be done there. And simply putting manual operators in place to do that, one, is costly, but two, actually totally inefficient, and you would not achieve what you need to achieve. So we've identified those. And when I'm talking about things like that, I'm talking about when we profiling customers. So as a main base, we profile the end customer based on their transactions, based on others' transactions, what types of bets are they placing, how close are they placing those bets to key points within matches. And our AI system is reviewing these in real time and then coming back with suggestions as to how we should treat these customers in terms of what risk they pose to the business. In other areas, we're looking at the liability, the lifetime delay, which are, as is a process applied to tickets to protect the bookmaker from being exposed to slow goals being put through from a live data perspective, or points being slow, or people sitting in stadiums or the court side and being able to get just in front of that data supply. But what we've done is we've developed systems which, one, looks at the actual data we have as Sportradar, because we're very, very close to that core and speed. And two, we've looked at the likelihood of that individual person placing that bet actually exploiting that information. And if that number is very low and that person isn't going to exploit, we reduce it, and we actually, more often than not, don't apply any delay to the customer. And that can't be done by an individual trader. That can't be done by someone, because the speed in which they need to respond is too fast for the process to be efficient. So AI is very important to us, and it's part of what we need to do. So then it comes to the next question of how important is the human trader? They're still as important as they were. They've just got a slightly different job now. They play a different game in our organization, in that we are looking for them to look at the exception. We are looking for them to support our end customer. They're not looking at all of the single pieces. They're looking at the overall picture, or they're going into granular pieces where we have a single point of failure. So, for example, a market that is massively underperforming, their role would be to identify that and do some work around that and understand what parts of our organization need to be brought in to repair that problem quickly and efficiently. Or when we have an issue around integrity, they need to move swiftly and understand quickly that there is an integrity concern there, and help to prevent our customers being exposed to those sorts of things. So my perspective is that we will never lose the human trader. They are there for the long haul. They just need to change their perspective from being the traditional event-based trader. I think this team wins because of X, to what is my system doing and how do I make that system better?
Sure. So, like you say, definitely a future for the human trader, but a different role. Something that we'll be looking at kind of in our upcoming magazine, which we'll also be using Sportradar's white paper for, is the impact of the role AI and is going to have on human positions, but obviously in the trading department, you've outlined them quite well there. You came up with a few good examples as well, of exactly what you use AI for. Sportradar's overall approach, it's about problem solving for the clients, isn't it? So, how important is AI, which, from what you've said already, it's very important, but have you got kind of any maybe examples of how AI has helped Sportradar to, solve a problem for the operator, which again, I take on board that you kind of went into a few already there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can touch on some more and also sort of understand a bit more of where we've come from. So like you say, problem solving is at the core of Sportradar. This is where we've been since I've been at the organization, and where it's been born from is understanding what the industry needs, where it's inefficient, and where we can find problems to that through technology. And we've done that pretty much every step of the way. Hence why we're in the situation we are now with our MTS. And with the MTS itself, we've also identified that maybe parts of what we do are not necessarily needed by all of the customers that we service. So we've moved into a situation where we've compartmentalized a lot of the products that we do from an AI perspective. So, even as a customer who doesn't want risk management, for example, you can still plug into the MTS and take full advantage of all of those AI systems, the profiling, the event profiling. So where we profile a customer, we equally profile an event, because not all events are equal. So, even in the Premier League, for example, a Saturday afternoon Premier League fixture could be less valuable to a sportsbook than a Monday afternoon or a Monday evening sports fixture, particularly a Monday night football. Monday night football will probably generate as much turnover as any other event during that week, maybe more. Whereas a Saturday afternoon, lower level fixture in the Premier League would not. So we have to be able to understand from a risk and liability perspective, what does that pose to us? What does that pose to the customer? And then set those automatically as we're going. So lots and lots of parts of our systems are just reading into the historical information we have. And as an owner of a lot of rights and a lot of data, we use that to also help to underpin how quickly we can respond and change the risk profile, the event profiling for all of the stuff that we have. And so that brings us into what we call is our inside tech, and that is inside tech services, and that is those systems as APIs. So any customer that provides us with all of their tickets through the system, we can then run all of those profilings over the top and provide them real-time analysis and information for them to feed back into their systems, not just for the risk perspective, but also plug those into their marketing systems. For example, why would you want to give sharp customers as good a service and as good as an offer in terms of your marketing push and free bets and all the other stuff as a regular customer or a new customer or even a VIP? Understanding those things real time and quick allows you to really spend your money where you want to spend it rather than spending it across the board.
I like that. I like a lot of those examples, but particularly the kind of Monday night football example, because it would be interesting to see, let's say Tottenham play Arsenal 3 p.m. on a Saturday. If Crystal Palace play Wolves, which they did yesterday, on a Monday night, it'll be interesting to see, because of the timing and it's the only game on, exactly how relevant that is for the operator. And yeah, as you say, that's kind of what Sportradar's aim there is. A final question from me, because we've talked a lot about the present and how things have evolved. Looking to the future, I guess crystal ball time in a way, but maybe with AI we don't need a crystal ball. We can be more accurate. But what's the future like in this area? So we talked about 10 to 15 years ago and how it's changed till now. What about in 10 years' time? Obviously, without specifically trying to predict the future, how do you see things developing and the trends changing in the area?
Well, it's interesting because we've sort of got our foot a little bit in that future already and where we're trying to go to. And when we look at some of the products that we're pushing and developing now, we have one product which we call Alpha Odds, which is a liability adjustment to pricing. So, you know, historically as a service, we've always had our live odds service, and that product has been really well received in the marketplace, and it's run across hundreds of different bookmakers around the world, pre-match and live. But we've realized that, you know, as we've got bigger and as the MTS has seen more information and we've been able to really use that to try to exploit, we've seen that adjusting those prices to reflect the liabilities of the bookmakers does a couple of things. One, it creates the efficiency that we spoke about earlier on, because we are trading their odds and their future sale of those odds against their current financial position, which means that they get way more efficient in that transaction, which then gives them the opportunity to become a bit more aggressive with their offer, and they can go after more market share by being offering a lower overrun and giving more back to the customer. And then the other part of the Alpha Odds is that we can grow out the granularity of that. So actually, we don't need to just be you, Tim, as Bet Tim has his price and it's totally bespoke to him from Alpha Odds. But actually, all of your customers potentially could have their own offer, which is totally bespoke to them, dependent on the liability that they're driving and or the risk posed by that individual customer. So, you know, our system is in a way that we're able to get that granular in the delivery. There's some things that need to catch up in the industry to get to there, but it's certainly not off the table in terms of our current capabilities and where we think the industry will get to in the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. And then the next part of what we think is the future and where we're going to, and we've recently acquired a business, Viax, that is part of our organization now. But what sits very, very nicely and puts us as MTS into a key seat here is that the integration for MTS and the integration for the marketing services is the same. There are some additional parts, but predominantly it's the same. So we can switch on our entire suite of Sportradar services to a new MTS client like that if the need is there, and because of the way they're integrated. And then we can then exploit all that information that comes through to give the customer a much more custom tailored product. And if we look to Viax particularly, you know, that perspective is that the customer has a Netflix style customization around what they see when they land on the web page, what they see when they get given a promotion or a free bet. It's not just a generalized approach. It's very, very bespoke to them. So we see that they're going to run very, very close. You know, everything that we're doing is looking how we can start to bring this fan ID, this fan engagement story into the future of what we do at Sportradar.
Yeah, I definitely see the focus on that customization and personalization there. But overall, with everything we've discussed, Darren, thanks very much for your time. Best of luck with everything at Managed Trading Services. But yeah, I mean, exciting times ahead for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And Tim, thanks for your time, and I appreciate you listening to me. And anything you need in the future, just give me a shout.
Great, thanks very much. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you. Cheers.